I grew up in a very ethnic culture where food was everything. So Italian, Turkish background, and so dieting was definitely not part of the equation. And as I got older, I met my first partner, and I was a little bit on the chubby side back then. And the first thing he did for me was buy me a gym membership. So, so look, fast forward about 5 years, I got addicted to this, to training and being healthy and being fit and what have you. And one day I walked into a gym because I moved towns, and I walked up these stairs. And as I was walking up these stairs of this gym, there was just these physiques I had never seen before in my life. I actually didn't think women could look like this. And I think I was about 23 at the time, and that was like 20 years ago now. And I just remember walking up to the receptionist and said, "How can I look like that?" And 9 weeks later, I was on stage. So that's how it all got started. And that was back in, wow, 2004.
Just like 20 years ago. Wow.
Mhm.
Time flies. Did you realize that? What I was doing in 2004, I was working. I was holding down two jobs at the same time. And I think I was in, not, I wasn't even 30 yet. I think, it really flies past. We got here my man, Tony97. Shout out to Tony, says, hello there, Lisa. You are, just subscribe to your podcast. It's amazing. When will you post another episode? Well, like I said, right now, she and her friend, Rose Black, who's also a figure pro, are right now competing this weekend. They just recently did an interview with my man, David Bryant, over Female Bodybuilding Forum. Shout out to David. David's a pretty good guy. I like his content. He's one, like, it's not a lot of if you look at on YouTube, there's not a lot of content makers that talk about women specifically. Like, you got the Go Figure podcast. There's the Female Bodybuilding channel. I think also Nicole Graham Zenobia has her podcast. She does,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And what division you start in? What got you to switch over to figure?
Well, I was always in figure. I just admired muscle, and like, I'm 5 foot, so there's not much of me in stature, and so I was it was always very easy for me to put on muscle. So I don't think I ever really was going to go into the bikini side of things, or the other categories. I was just in awe of, like, my idols, like Corey Everson back in the day. Like, she was just my absolute, like, amazing, idol. And for me, it was like I wanted to have the representation of still being feminine and strong. And when I saw these physiques, these women, especially back in those days as well, because obviously the bodies have evolved a lot since then.
Yeah.
It was never about necessarily the size as per se, but it was more about the aesthetics and the lines and balance. And I was really drawn to that. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, that's true. I think really that's Corey Everson was like the standard back then, especially when she started around about the 80s and up to the 90s. And you had Linda Murray after that, and you had Kim Savetsky, and you had Iris Kyle, and now you have Andrea. The division's changed because I think figure has been around, but maybe just about a little over 20 years. And
Mm,
even now, if you look at the division, it has evolved over the years. Like we do, I have a live stream I call Muscle Talk Mondays. We talk about how the figure girls today can blow out the female bodybuilders of the 80s, and especially like you're from Australia, you had legends like Bev Francis, had Christine Inval, Lee Priest. I saw a picture with you with Lee, and that's just on my. You go to my YouTube channel on my IG, you see it with him. I don't know what I got a tattoo for. That's crazy. And,
I know. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So one thing,
I was about to say that Bev Francis, we grew up in the same town together, so in Geelong. So we literally were like 5 minutes away from each other.
Wow, this is a small world, you know.
Oh
I've even
well.
some, yeah, yeah, you know. I even some ladies say they live right next that down the street from Andrea. And I say, wow. I mean, like, you know. But anyways, folks, you hear from a man, 29 7 says, uh, will she ever move up to physique? No, she says she's been figure. She's gonna stay figure. I know a lot of you guys. This is Lisa. Guys, they like the big freaky chicks. They like there's an old smoke saying when you ladies rock hard, we'll rock hard. So you know, and it's just it's the vision that's really kind of it's in between. It's like you know I've seen ladies now who look like they could go up to physique,
Yeah.
but then, they often go say, you know what, I fit here. And you also are a coach and trainer. What advice we give to a woman who wants to get into sport and, especially dealing with genetics and everything else?
Look, I say the first thing I say is let your body dictate where you fit. Number one. So, if your body, let's say, is a body that might be thicker through the midsection and not necessarily aesthetically, that real small waist X frame, then you might want to consider going up. And when I look at a girl, I'm like, okay, so if your clavicles are inside your hips, then you're probably going to be more bikini wellness sort of thing. And if you're in line with if your shoulders sit outside your waistline and in line with your hips, then you're probably going to be more I would say figure, that kind of line. And if you have longer clavicles with a smaller waist and your hips sit kind of just inside that that shoulder clavicle kind of range, then physique bodybuilding would be the best way to go. That's how I dictate how I work with my clients. And I think, that has evolved over the years as well, especially because back when I first started, figure was a very Y frame, shoulders, waist, straight down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's all about the booty and the quads. So it's become more X frame, and the waist is almost like the center point of figure.
Yeah, because like I think one thing they want you ladies in figure to have too much gyrations in the glutes. Like I think bikini and I think it's bikini and figure you want too much gyration in the glutes. With wellness, because it is the glute accentuated division, you can't help but get gyrations. We have here my man KL the Wanderer. He says this. He says, morning KL. He also is contact women's bodybuilding too, and also he says, nice arms. He likes your arms. Like I said, and KL, you should be excited. She's gonna compete, so she's competition ready. Once you get the spray tan, everything on, it's set. So, you're a mom, and I was watching an interview with David, and you have a son, and he has heart issues, and I can understand that because myself, I also have a pacemaker. I had it for at least, yeah, I had it for about 10 years. I was working at my job, and I was working this meat packing processing place, and I work in the cold storage. So I thought I was getting a cold. So I think my home was like about maybe good 50 miles away. My sister was
Mm.
closer, and I went to her house. She told me to go to the hospital. I went to this emergency care unit, and they sent me to a hospital, and then told me that my fraction was low. Then I had my pace. I then It wasn't that long. Boom, I got a pacemaker. I had my surgery. Went back to work, and then I quit. And my mom got sick. But yeah, how's he doing? Is he with you today?
Yeah, he is. He's in the other room. Um,
Uh,
yeah, he's traveled with me to all of my shows. So he's got to meet all the amazing athletes and Olympian stars. Which I think for him is going to be quite pivotal as he gets older. To have these images and experiences. But yeah, Kai was born with a condition called hyperplastic left heart. So if you can think of a whole heart, his left hand side of the heart doesn't work. Like
oh,
there's no atrium and there's no ventricle in there, so there is no chamber in there, and so he was given a 1% chance of survival. And I just said to the doctors, take that 1% chance and do what you can, and I will pray to God. I will do whatever I can, and his mum, and if it's God's will for him to still be here, then great, and if it's not, I'll deal with what I have to deal with, at that time. But 7 surgeries. He's had a cardiac arrest. He's had a stroke. He's still here with us fighting. So yeah.
I could feel your pain. I want to give you a big hug. And like I said, he's still fighting. That's good. Like the quote, the man